This video represents many different elements of the work and the organizing I do. The people you saw in that video were homeless mothers and fathers who are currently staying in a shelter in D.C. This shelter was an abandoned hospital called D.C. General. If that name is sticking out to you, I'm going to remind you why in a little bit. But before I do that, I want to paint a picture of this shelter. Here, this place has two shelters, one for families and one for women. The families stay in a hospital room with their entire family. They share a bathroom, which means that over 1,000 people are sharing a bathroom, and they don't have any kitchen access. They don't have a way to cook meals for their children, as well as to keep warm milk for their infants. So a lot of them can't keep milk and can't store it. They don't have a place to wash their clothes or help their children with their homework. This shelter, like I said, sits on an abandoned site that was deemed unfit to house patients several years ago, and that's why the hospital closed. It's falling apart. It has mold, plumbing issues, electrical issues, rodents, rats. The ceiling has caved in on me while I was there. I mean, it's a horrible place to be. And that's where we shelter families in D.C. if you're lucky enough to get into shelter, because unfortunately, all families who are homeless do not get into shelter in D.C. A little over a year ago, a little girl was taken from this shelter. She was taken by a staff person with her mother's permission, and it was a month before anyone realized she was gone. When they realized, the staff who was supposed to care for these children with the parents realized she was missing a month later because they hadn't seen her or hadn't heard her mother talk about her in a month. An investigation started, and the staff person who took the young girl ended up killing his wife and himself, and we never found the young girl. We still don't know where she is or what happened to her. She's still missing to this day. The system began to paint a picture of this mother. I'm not saying she doesn't have any personal responsibility or any responsibility over what happened to her children. I'm simply stating that when systems fail people, how do we expect them to succeed for the people that they're supposed to care for? This mother was a product of the foster care system. She had reached out several times in several ways for support because she couldn't care for her children. She had even had teachers and caseworkers reach out for support, and she didn't get any. But when the investigation started, the system took her other children away. The system released her medical history, and the system ultimately let her take the fall for a broken system and a damaged society that forces people to make harsh choices when they feel they have nothing left. The families in that video were fighting for affordable housing, because in DC you have to work 3 jobs to afford a place to live. I work 3. So you have to work 3 jobs to afford a place to live in DC. They were fighting 2 years before this young girl went missing. The families took off work to attend this event weeks after prepping. They had been organizing for affordable housing for months, and we kept hearing, we don't have the money, we can't help you. And they're not just talking about free housing, they're talking about housing where they can pay 30% of their income towards rent and use the other amounts of their income for whatever bills they have. So one day we were in a campaign meeting, and one of the families said, we should just take over the building and see if they like it then. And we decided to explore that idea. How can we get them where it hurt? How can we make the council members, the people in charge of the money, understand that they need to be building housing for people and not storage for street cars? And that's when we decided to take over the hearing. And not just any hearing. We took over a hearing that would be attended by all the major press outlets. I'm talking the Washington Post, NBC News, ABC News, Fox News, and the Washington Times to provide us with this wonderful video. We wanted them to feel the pressure of these families. The children, at the end of that video, which you couldn't see, walked up to where the council members were sitting, and their parents lifted them up, and they put birdhouses that they had decorated themselves in front of each council member. And on those birdhouses, it said, we've given you a house. Now, will you help us find a home? I'm talking children as young as 5, understanding what it means to be homeless. That's why I do this work. After that event, press ran with the story. The next day, I got a phone call from the council members, and they said, Kristi, we miraculously found $4 million to house 200 families. We just found it. You should be so happy. And we were grateful. We were happy because that was 200 families who want to be homeless. But I want you to understand that I didn't risk a lot. Yes, we took over a hearing, so I could have been arrested, but I wasn't. But these families risked the bed that they were staying at because they were coming out against the shelter. They risked the jobs they took off for because they don't have the right to do that. They risked their kids not going to school because they wanted to get them a place where they can do their homework. That is why I do this work. That is what justice is. And that victory was very small compared to the DC budget, which is now $11 billion big. That was promised. So now you know a little bit more about the kind of work I do, sort of. I do actions and organizing and things like that. But I want to talk to you a little bit more about the why I do this work. I'm asked this every day because I do multiple jobs and I'm always down. And I think it's important for you to understand the people who I serve has a lot to do with that. But where I came from and how I was raised shaped a lot of the work that I do. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. First, I want to talk about both of my sets of grandparents. My grandparents taught me to have faith and carry on no matter how many bad things happen. They taught me to help others no matter what, because you don't know their struggles and you don't know what they overcame to make it to that day. Second, I must talk about my siblings. Okay. Everyone who knows me knows that I lost my brother when he was 9 years old. He was sick, and he got a wish, and he wished for a computer for me and my sister, and for me and my sister to have our own room. He was spoiled rotten. Please do not get me wrong, spoiled, like everyone who knew him. But when he didn't think he was going to make it, he thought of us. That kind of selflessness is what is inside of me. It guides me every single day to give up everything that I have to help these people. Second, my sister. I always remember being known as Sonny's little sister while I was at Guilford. I hated it. And for no other reason to overcome that do I do this work so people can tell us apart. But there are other reasons too. My sister thrives to understand history, systems, and how applying that understanding can help people and interact with people. I remember my sister debating with both professors and even 6 years old people, not to prove her point, but so she could understand their walk, their message, and know a little bit more about them. This helps me to this day. As an organizer in my work, I'm constantly trying to empathize with people, relate to people, so I can understand their perspective, so I can work with them to come up with solutions. And finally, my parents. They started this passion for me many years ago. I've always seen my parents go to work every single day. They worked so me and my siblings wouldn't know what the struggle was. They gave a lot of time to us and time to our family. I can remember my parents opening our house up to anybody who needed anything, anytime. I remember when I was little, I got in trouble for being bad people in school and not getting bad grades. My parents raised my siblings and I to be good people. They taught us that character and not money is what you should strive to have. They also taught me to give what I can afford to lose, which is time. So that's what I give. That is why I do what I do. Because I want them to know that the lessons they fought to teach us and the sacrifices they made so we wouldn't struggle were for something. It was so I can help others become advocates so they can fight, so struggle is not the clutch that people have to lean on in poverty daily. As a Bonner Scholar working under James and Claire, I remember wearing many different hats. I was a site coordinator, a counselor, trainer, whatever James and them needed me to be, whenever they needed me to be, that's what I did. All while trying to go to school and get my degree. These skills I learned from this program has led the work that I do. I know when people come together, systems can be dismantled. The Bonner program laid that foundation in this belief. Fighting for justice is so much more than holding up a sign at a protest, or clicking a link to sign a petition, or sharing a video of somebody doing something good, or sharing a quote about the kind of character you think we should have. It is about understanding the struggle of those who have less, considering the institutional causes of those struggles, and understanding the intentional creation of systems to keep people down, and working every day in multiple ways to dismantle that system. That's what I learned at Guilford. That is what my parents sacrificed for. For systems are in control, but community power can break that at the core. James, Claire, and the Barna program not only gave me the skills to fight with these communities every day, they laid the foundation for me to understand that we must dismantle systems of oppression in order to stop the struggle of those who are born without. My family daily, both who are alive and who have passed away, remind me that my fight and my sacrifice is worth it if one person suffers less because of the change that I have brought on. If you remember nothing about what I said today, please remember that it's great to talk about what needs to happen in the world. It's powerful to share videos of others doing the right thing. But true change comes when you give your life to dismantling systems of oppression and trying to work every single day to make this world a better place. That is what justice work is. That is what organizing is. And that is what I do. Thank you for listening.